What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, basically, today we are just going to be looking at a simple program that checks for the age of your user. So, if our user is above 18 or is 18, they're an adult, so it's going to tell them. And if the user is below 18, they're not an adult, so it's going to tell them. And if they enter an invalid age, for example, 180, it's going to tell them their age is invalid, tell them the range, and give them the option to try again. If they enter an invalid age again, it's going to keep on giving them the chance to enter the right age. If they don't enter anything, it's going to tell them it's invalid. If they enter a string, it's going to tell them it's invalid. And that's basically it. So let's get into it. Welcome back, developers. So basically, today is like a brief intro. We're just going to be doing a simple program. And yeah, that's it. The editor I'm going to be using is PyCharm. So just going to come onto PyCharm, create a new project. This is the first project. So I'm going to specify the parts that I want to create this project. I'm going to call this project. I'm going to call this project. Now over here, you see create Git repository. This allows PyCharm to automatically initialize a Git repository. We'll get into that later. Create a welcome script. If I click on this, automatically we'll see a welcome script in the folder already created by PyCharm. So the Python version is this, which is my interpreter. So just going to click on create. So this is the sample script they created, and this is not what we are going to be using. So firstly, just click on file, new. As you could see, there's Alt Insert here. So that's the shortcut for creating new file, new Python file, right name of the file. I'm going to call it. There's already a min.py file, so I'll call it script.py. I don't need to add the extension because automatically PyCharm knows it's a Python file. So when I click on create, it creates a file with the script.py as the name. So basically, before getting into programming what you want, you need to understand what you want to do. So the program which we are going to be doing today has required some things. Firstly, this is a triple string. It's usually called a doc string. It allows you to write multiple lines of string text. And a string is a sequence of characters, letters and numbers combined, just a sequence of characters covered by double quotes or single quotes in Python. So basically, you need to understand what you're about to build. You ever been to create a new Google account and try to put an age that is less than 18 or 12, and you're going to see what they're going to tell you? They'll tell you something like age is invalid or stuff like that. Try maybe create a child's account and stuff like that. So that is the type of thing we are going to be building today. Something that checks a user's age based on what they enter. So you need to understand what you're about to do. Usually people use pseudocode, but me, I prefer to just write it down in textual format before I get into it. Then we have to know the criteria. So first thing, it should collect an input. Now what's an input? What's the input going to be? The input is going to be the user's age. Then with this input should be a number, a valid number. Also, we also need to check if the input is greater than 18 or equal to, 18, it should say the user is an adult. In those cases, if this was true, they will allow you to proceed to the next stage. But this is just a simple program. Then if the input is less than 18, should tell them that it should tell them the user is not an adult. And they also you tend to see people who want to test the efficiency of a program and they try to put like an age that you can't even think of, for example, 120. So you also need to add feel safe for all those kind of problems. So if they impute an age that is not valid, we should give them the chance to impute a valid age, because you can't be that age which you're probably dead and you're trying to create an account with us and stuff like that. So we should add feel safe. So that's it for this program we're about to create. We need an input that takes the user's age. So we are going to say a equals to, now to collect input from user, we use the input function. And what this input function does is that it allows users to input strings of text. So no matter what it is, they'll be able to add their textual content. So it allows us to add a string which is going to contain, like tell the user what is entering. If you go to a website, you'll see something like name and a box. That box signifies you write your name. So that's exactly what we are going to do. We're going to tell them enter your name, which is the placeholder. You see, be able to write their name. So over here, we are not using name, we are using age. So I'm going to tell them to enter their age. So this input function returns a string. And to check the type of an object, you simply use the type function in Python. So we are going to say print type of A. Now, the type function collects an argument, which is the data type, the variable you want to check the type. We are going to use print to print it to the terminal. So even though I enter numbers, it's going to tell me it's a string. We'll get into that later, but basically, let's continue with the code. So if the number if the age is greater than 18, the user is an adult. So if age is greater than 18, user is an adult. So if you notice, there's an underline under here, and PyCharm will tell you the problem. So it tells me tree warning, highlight all problems. You see all the problems are highlighted. So if I click on this, it will open a box, and once I click on each problem, double click, it's going to show me the line which the problem is. So I can even see here is line 11. So I see the problem 18. So expected type str got int instead. Now this problem is coming because I told you guys that a returns a string. So for me to be able to perform integer operations, which is checking greater than and less than, I need to convert this string to an integer. So to do that, I'm just going to use the int function and pass in the input variable as an argument. And as you can see here, it has reduced from 3 to 2. So I'm just going to do that for all of them. So that's it. Writing three if statements is not really necessary, as we are checking all this with the same value. That's why we have if else statement. If age is greater than 18, which is A, user is an adult. So instead of saying another if, we are going to say L if, signifying that else if, that is if the user is not an adult. It should help us and check if the user is a child, if the user is not an adult. So that's where we use the else if statement. Then otherwise, we go to else. Now, there is an error here signifying that you didn't write the correct statement. Now, the else doesn't need any argument. You don't need to add an argument for the else statement. With this, if I run this program, nothing is going to happen after I enter my age. It's safe, no errors, no problems. But it's not printing out user as an adult and all that. So basically, that is not happening because we didn't use the print statement. When I enter an age, I get user is not an adult. So then we have we have checked all this. They've added a fail safe, user is not an adult. So this code is not correct because if the person adds a character which is an alphabet, they get an error. As you can see, value error, invalid literal for int with base 10. That's because this integer only converts integer values that are strings to integers. So because you entered an alphabetical value, the integer function throws an error. Then what we have to do now is instead of going straight into this, we are going to first of all check using the isDigit function, isDigit method. So string have various methods. Now this isDigit method checks if it's digit, returns true if it's digit and false if it's not. If it's A1, it's still not digit, so it returns false. If it's A2, it's not digit, it returns false. But if it's 12, it returns true. So if I run this now, if I enter 20, if I enter a random character of letters, nothing happens. So if the user enters a string or an invalid value, you want to use the else statement and tell them that the value is, sorry, we tell them that what they entered is invalid. Whatever they entered, be it empty character or so. So we are going to tell them whatever they entered is invalid. Now this is an F string. An F string is short for string format. Is the latest version of formatting strings. Before they used the format method, which was longer, but now it's become shorter using the F string method, which is more readable. What it does, it allows us call variables or functions in between the curly braces, these curly braces for strings. So instead of me to have said something like A is invalid, using the F string, I can just write A still in this same line of code. So if I enter and I get and is invalid. So I also need to check if the user is less than 100 because that is the age range. So 100 is greater than user age, and we also need to check 0 is less than user age. So now if the user age is greater than 100, sorry, if 100 is greater than the user age and the user age is greater than 18, they are an adult. But if 0 is less than the user age and the user age is less than 18, they are not an adult. Meaning that if they are 18, invalid age. So instead of doing this, we are going to add an equal to here because we are checking if it's greater than or equal to 18 because 18 is also means they are an adult. So that is for that. I get invalid age. So now we are going to transform all this code into a more syntactically pleasing format. So first things first, the naming of variables. Using A doesn't seem too descriptive. You need to name variables in a way that they describe what they perform. So instead of A, I'm going to call it user age, separating each word by underscores. So I'm going to add all this and all right. So that is that. I've been able to change all that. So what else? This int user age is too repetitive. You're not supposed to repeat yourself. So instead of for every time I'm using the user age, converting it to integer, I could just one time only after checking if it's digit, convert it to integer at the top. So now I don't need to explicitly say that they should be converted to integer for each statement. So that is that. Then also I'm going to use an escape sequence and give them the range and give them the range and give them the option to try again. Did nothing else. But then when I run the code, if the user age is 190, It tells them invalid age, ranges between 1 to 100, try again. But it doesn't give them the option of trying again. Now, for that case, we're going to use what we call a while statement. Now, while statement runs until a particular condition is met. So sometimes it can be infinite if you don't specify conditions. So the format is by saying while, which is the keyword, and the condition. So over here, the condition I'm going to be using is a boolean. I'm just going to say while true. That means this while loop is meant to run infinitely, and the only way I'm going to break out of it is by using a break statement, which is a way of controlling flow of while statements. So while this is true, you should ask the user for their age. Then, if user age is digits, so if the user is an adult, they are done with the program, so you should break out of the while loop. That's what the break statement does. Then, if they are not an adult, you should tell them and you should break out. But if it's an invalid age range, they don't need to break out because we are giving them chance to add a valid age. And also the same for the if it was a string or an invalid value imputed. So now, if I run this, I get a prompt to enter my age. If I enter 12, user is not an adult, it ends. I enter 78, user is an adult. And when I enter 101, invalid age, range is between 1 to 100, try again. I try again, invalid age, range is between 1 to 100. No matter the amount of times I try it, it's always going to continue unless I then decide to enter a valid age. That's the only time it's going to stop. So, yeah, that's all. This is a simple program to check a user's age. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't enjoy it, you can dislike it as well. You can help this channel by subscribing. And hopefully, we are going to make you understand concepts better than you do today. Thank you.